My name is Dr. Jane Harrison and I'm the Director of Community Archaeology North, which is a community interest company, along with my colleagues Sarah Miles and Catherine Murphy. And we're here today and tomorrow in the village of Longhorsley doing test pits. Now, the overall aim of our organisation is to do research-driven archaeology from the smallest of investigations to big projects, but with local people, training them, teaching them, drawing them into the archaeology so that they're engaging with the past of their place. And we have been doing a large-scale excavation close to Longhorsley in near Felton, which is a fantastic late 6th to late 9th century site, Anglo-Saxon, where they're producing sails and tents. It's a textile producing estate centre. Now, as part of that project, what we wanted to do was to investigate the role of the other villages, settlements in this Anglo-Saxon estate. And we have been working in Felton and Thurston and Longframlington and now in Longhorsley with the wonderful support of the local history society and a lot of local people. And what we're trying to do in the villages is to investigate how they began, how they've changed, and which bits of the village were being used, lived in, worked in which periods of history, and what was happening during those periods. Because villages change a lot, and they don't just get bigger, they get smaller, they shift, and the focus of their work changes. And we're trying to investigate the villages in order to connect the things that they're doing with these important early Anglo-Saxon sites. And the way we do it is by digging 1 metre square test pits. There's one of them behind me here, and they're done very neatly, very tidily. We take the turfs off and we have everything on a tarpaulin, and all the digging is done by local people. And what they're doing is going down in 10 centimetre layers, getting all the pottery and objects and anything out of the soil and recording it. And they're not just digging, they're learning how to do the recording and writing up and photographing of this mini excavation. And those are transferable skills that they can then use on a larger scale excavation. But anyone can do it because...
So how do you go about choosing the sites, and are they all domestic sites?
What you initially, I mean, the point about test pits is you have to do a lot of them. So what we're doing now is the beginning of a 3 or 4 year project, because we're hoping we'll do 20 to 30 at least of these little squares in back gardens, front gardens around Longhorsley. Because what happens is, as you accumulate the evidence, you get an idea from the pottery and objects which parts of the village were busy and were being worked in and lived in at which times of history. And the more you do, the better it is. And there has to be an element of randomness about the selection of sites, because what you don't know is whether the newest bit of the village is actually being built over what was a part of the village that was used a long time ago and then abandoned, because villages shrink and shift. So we start off very randomly, where there are very keen people. Perhaps in some of the older areas, we've got a test pit in the grounds of the tower here. But once you begin to get some of the evidence, then you can target it a bit more. But randomness is actually an important part of the technique, and anybody can be involved. We've got people who are cleaning the finds, we've got children digging, young people, older people, and there's another stage next where we actually identify and quantify and record all the finds, and we'll be doing that together with the people from the village, so that what we build up is a much better picture of how the village started, developed and changed, and what people were doing than we can get from documentary history, because these sorts of ordinary everyday things are not recorded in documents. And as you know, in Northumberland we're a little bit short on early documents in particular, as we don't have Doomsday and we've lost a lot of the early charters and descriptions of land. So it's a really effective and fun way of discovering more about places where people are still living, in order to inform them about what the past of their place was like.
So tell us a little bit about the finds themselves. As these are mostly domestic gardens, I would guess that they're things that people have perhaps thrown away in the past. Would that be right?
Yes, it's things that people have thrown away, or it's things that they have accumulated in what we call midden heaps or rubbish heaps. In the past, when rubbish wasn't taken away, you'd have a compost heap and you'd put it on your garden or your field. Some of this may have been fields once upon a time. But also sometimes you get material where there's been a little building or a pigsty or an enclosure, and people have taken it down and they've spread material in order to level the ground, and so you get lots of interesting things in that. So it's a mixture of rubbish, of fertilising, of what happens when you demolish and rebuild buildings, so all of those things. But what is now a back garden may well have been something else in the past. It may well have been a field, it may well have been the yard of something else. So that we don't know. You can't make assumptions.
What are the most common things that you find?
Pottery, nails and iron objects, buttons, coins, what we call in archaeological lingo ceramic building material, so that's tiles and bits of brick, stone, bits of building stone, that sort of thing. But all sorts of stuff can pop up. There can be, think of the things people lose. Little bits of buttons are an obvious one, but sometimes you can find little bits of brooches and things like that. So all sorts. Bone is another thing, of course, animal bone, because when you didn't have rubbish taken away, you would put your the remains of your dinner in your compost heap to go on your garden or your allotment or your field. So a lot of bone.
Do you find anything unusual or valuable, perhaps?
Sometimes, but that's relatively rare. And the important thing to say is that, of course, when we're digging in people's gardens, whatever is dug up belongs to them, and comes back to them.
Hi, I'm Glyn Scott, and I'm a member of the Local History Society, which have been running since about the year 2000.
Tell us a little bit about the society at Longhorsley and what its aims are.
Well, it was set up originally by Billy Rickleton, who's passed now, and the aims is really to sort of find anything about Longhorsley. We have a big archive section of 20,000 paper documents. We've got a museum in the village hall which displays all the artefacts we've found over the years and what people have donated to the History Society, which is a very interesting collection. Includes some things belonging to Emily Davison, the suffragette, as well, so it's really spectacular.
And what about this dig? How did it come about, and what do you hope to find?
Right, with this dig, I've been involved with this company that's doing it as a volunteer in other parts of Northumberland for the last 2 or 3 years. And I asked them if they would be interested in expanding their areas of search. They're mainly looking for sort of Anglo-Saxon, but generally anything. So they said yes, they would love to come to Longhorsley. So we set up trying to organise volunteers. Would volunteer firstly the gardens to dig the test, where we could dig the test bits, and then get volunteers to actually dig. But we also needed money to pay for this, so we applied to the Wingates Windfarm charity, and they've given us the funds to enable this dig to go ahead, so we're very grateful to them for that.
So what do you hope to learn about Longhorsley that you didn't already know?
Really, we know, like that, for example, the age of the tower is sort of 14th century, so we're expecting to find material from that period up to the 20th century. We would really like to find something a bit earlier as well. There is potentially in other parts of Northumberland, not so far from here, East Thurston, they are back to 700 AD. So if if we could find something like that, that would be fantastic. It would be totally new for Longhorsley.